right, I think we are live. Yes, we are. Perfect. So let's talk about language and what is the Omni benefit. Right, and so again, right now I recognize there's so much change going on. Right, we have, the vid. We have, there's like fires in California. There's the election, big changes. Then there's all this conspiracy theory stuff happening between like the pandemic versus epidemic, with child pedophile stuff. I mean, all this stuff, all this change, and so we can talk about what are the things that we can do that can make a big difference in how we experience all of this, right? And so, so we can experience all this. It's just my daughter's coming in and playing. And so, one of the things that we can for sure be aware of is our language, right? And in case you have not read or watched my videos or posts and all that stuff, our language, the words that we speak, largely not only dictates our thought, right? It is our thought, but also controls how we feel, right? And so you can imagine, and I'll exaggerate an example where each day you will say constant things like, I hate, I hate, I hate, I hate, and I hate. Well, guess what? You're obviously not going to feel super happy that day, right? While this is an exaggerated example, there are subtle nuances of this that is affecting our state with the words that we may not be aware of, right? And so one of those examples can be things like, right, I use this all the time, which is I get to versus I have to, right? And so imagine throughout the day where all of your to-do stuff, you are saying I get to, right? I get to do grocery shopping, I get to go to my office, I get to pick up the kids, I get to blank. Everything's I get to. That has a very different feel versus I have to go grocery shopping, I have to pick up the kids, I have to go to the office, I have to, right? So that's another example. And so once we recognize how these words actually affects our state, we actually are not taught how to tune into what is that state. Like, how do our words affect our emotions? And there's some very profound implications of our emotions as it relates to reality, which I'll get to later, right? And so at a very superficial level, again, you can imagine if you're in a state of joy and peace, from a psychological perspective, of course, that allows you to experience life, right? To experience life in a way that is ease, right? And so your decision process will be a lot easier and clear. You can think properly, right? And there's studies showing that when we're in the fight or flight response, in a state of hypervigilance and dis-ease and chaos, it's like having blinders on, right? And this is a natural evolutionary / God design, depending on what you believe in, mechanism, right? Because if you're being chased by something that's trying to kill you, and if you're in heightened danger, it's probably not the best time to like be in a meditative, happy state where you're enjoying how the clouds look like apples and cherries and tigers. You basically want to like be very focused and run away from danger, right? But the drawback to that is that your ability to see the magic in life in its wholeness and completeness is now limited, right? Because of this constant state of anxiety, chaos, and stress, right? Whereas if you're using words to have you be in this state of peace most of the times, right? Because obviously in modern day, we're not being chased by saber-toothed tigers and elephants and things, that might pose a danger to us. That is not the case. It's just brainwashing from mass media, right? Mass media and even your social media feed may actually be constantly enforcing this sense of danger, right? And so in case you didn't know, how Facebook and most social media algorithms work is whatever you want to see, it shows you more of it. This is really powerful for you to recognize, right? Because if you have been embedded with the tendency to look at danger, right? If you're looking at an article that says the world's about to blow up, pandemic's about to kill a bunch of people, whatever danger, Facebook goes, oh, that's what you want to see, and it shows you more of that, right? So it's the ultimate cognitive bias tool out there, right? Because it just wants to keep you watching and staying on Facebook. And so this is very powerful for you to recognize, right? Because the reality that you're being exposed to on social media is basically only supporting your stories and your beliefs, because it's just showing you the content that you want to see, right? This is very powerful for you to recognize, right? So sometimes when you're on social media, you may want to get off of it, or you may want to just on purpose pause on content that is contrary to what you believe in, right? And this is one of the ways you can sort of change the algorithm, so it's not only showing you what you believe in, further pigeonholing you in terms of the world that you see, right? And so, little side tangent, but very important. So let's get back to words and states and emotions, right? So our words dictate basically how we feel. Let's start with there, but it's actually doing much more than that. And so as it's dictating how we feel, it's our feelings, right, then dictates our response, right? So in other words, if you're very, very, very sad and depressed, we just use, really simple emotional words, obviously it doesn't matter if someone does something nice for you, or you're just like going for a walk, or you're talking to some other people. If you're very, very sad and depressed, you will be and come across sad and depressed, which then changes how people act towards you, right? It's a feedback loop. And so one of the ways that you can change and influence reality is to change and influence how you are on the inside, right? We'll go the other end of the spectrum. If you're joyful and happy and someone does something nice to you, you might be like, oh my God, this is incredible, thank you so much. Versus when you're sad and depressed and all of a sudden like, yeah, thank you, right? And so the energy in which you're responding, of course, will be different. Now, obviously, you can imagine that will influence how the other person acts in relation to your energy and your response, right? And of course, then when they act a certain way, let's say, I don't know, let's say someone does something really nice to you, and because you're sad and depressed, you're like, hey, thank you, and you don't have that energy of gratitude, they're less likely to maybe even, help you in the future or do something for you in the future. And that fulfills your story of like life is crappy and all that stuff, right? So that's the energy that you're putting out there. Whereas if you're living in joy and happiness and someone does even tiny things for you, you'd be like, oh my God, thank you so much. And that's a feedback loop. They go, oh my God, I felt so appreciated. And you will more likely do more things for that person, right? And this is just a very psychological, non-spiritual, non-woo, non-quantum entanglement way of describing this. This is purely just logic and psychology. If we jump all the way to quantum entanglement, magic, and all that, the other side, our vibrational state, in fact, does control reality, right? In other words, we think the external world has to change for us to feel a certain way. In reality, it's a two-way street. In other words, we, by controlling and choosing our internal state, also known as how you feel, directly 50% of the time influences what's actually happening in reality. This is huge, very powerful for you to recognize. In other words, we actually can control and choose reality that we want to experience, not simply the story that we want to make of it, but the actual thing, right? This is big. I used to think when I started this 30 years ago that we have choice of the story. That made sense to me, right? Someone stabs me in the arm, I can choose what story to apply to this, right? Oh, they were being a dick. Oh, they were just angry and I am the receiving end of that anger. Oh, actually, they're just trying to dig out an evil spirit in me. I mean, whatever, right? So I can choose a story in a way that serves me. I believe that for 20 plus years, 25 years. But recently, I've come to realize that, oh wait, how we feel can control if the knife is actually stabbing me or not. Not just the story of why I just got stabbed, but the actual stabbing I actually can influence. This is a very powerful aha. I know it was for me, right? So something to consider, right? And so now, once you embody that, whether you believe it or not, I'm just, sort of sharing that, then you start to realize, wait, what's possible? Well, if that is possible, then how do I influence my state? Well, ultimately, your stories and your words, right? Your stories and your words largely influence your state. And so, in this video, I'll talk about words, right? Stories is a little bit more nebulous, because stories, now we're going to get into like, what's your childhood, what have you experienced, and all that stuff. It's a little bit more complex, it's much deeper. But word choice can be simple, right? Word choice is a choice, right? And so it's a much more tactical tool that has profound influence and benefits, versus the stories are like the overall strategy. So I'm a huge fan of, duality in both ends, so strategy and tactics. And so we're going to talk about words, which is why I put out a course on, it's called Wisdom Words, right? So it just gives you the practice and awareness of your language and your words. I'm actually going to put it in the comment right now for people, right? And so these words, this is free, right? So I've made that course. Actually, I believe of all the many courses I've created to revamp humans' health, and support their inner wisdom and all that stuff, I believe this course is actually the most powerful, and I've made it free. Mainly because right now, this is not about making money and all that stuff. I mean, we'll make plenty of money down the road as we support 1 billion people. But right now, the urgency is to give humans, all of you listening, and hopefully all I ask is, this gift is for you to share it with your ripple, your community. The awareness of language and how it affects us, our reality, our state, is one of the most powerful practices I believe that you can do right now. And it's simple. That's the beauty of it, right? It doesn't require like months and months and months and years of training. It doesn't require you to go to a psychologist or a counselor or a life coach and, revamp stuff. It is very quick, immediate, and yet simple to adopt into who you are. And so again, I have a link there. Please, it's a free course. There's no it's just an opt-in, right? And so I'm not spamming you. You will get bonus emails that has additional content, because I kind of gamify the process from working with the #1 gamification expert in the world, 𝗓𝗏, and his team lead, Chris Tomaso. I feel like I fully have gotten like almost like a PhD in gamification in the last couple months as we've been building our app. So I recognize the extreme value of it, so I built that process into it, right? And so again, free course. I don't want to spend too much time on the course, but it's there for you and it's free. But I want to recognize, I do want to recognize that when things are free, people don't value it. This course, I believe I could, if I wanted to sell it, it would be hundreds of dollars, right? And so yeah, I might be biased since I created it, but I want you to go through the course and you tell me, right? I would love some feedback as to the immensity of this course, right? Because literally you're getting a tool that controls reality. I don't know, that's kind of big. And so words, right? So when we choose our words, right, and this is so subtle, right? For example, when you say things like hit, right? That thing hit me hard, right? That's a pretty big difference when you are learning something new, right? Language pattern could be like, that thing hit me hard, versus that information was intense and impactful. Those two phrases have a very different energy on you. The thing that hit me is literally something that's coming at you in a forceful way, versus that thing was intense. We're not going to lie to ourselves and say, hey, that thing was nothing, right? That thing was intense and it made such a beneficial impact. You can add in the additional words. That's very different than that thing hit me hard, right? So we go through how the process works. So we go through what are those typical phrases that I hear humans use and how that affects them. Because sometimes we're saying these things without any awareness of the impact on our state and our reality, right? I hear this all the time. I'm buried with the work. Literally, think about that, like the imagery, I'm buried with the work. Another way to word that is, I am choosing an abundance of opportunities to act on, and it's kept me more busy than I want to be. Right? That's a very different statement than I'm buried with work. right? Another example would be things like, I'm dead tired. This is a common phrase I hear. Literally, you are telling yourself that you're dying when you say, I am dead tired, right? That's very different than, I've chosen to do more than just be and support and rest myself. Very different statement, right? And so these are huge language awarenesses I want you to be aware of. And so this video is about, half of it is about language and awareness and practice, right? And so hopefully I made that semi-clear. If there's any questions, feel free to put that in the comment. I can answer some questions and comments, right? And so the other half of this video really is about what I call the Omni Benefit, right? So what is an Omni Benefit? Well, again, let's tie it back to words. The old paradigm, well, the old paradigm is win and lose, win and lose. You hear this all the time, right? On social media, people be like, let me celebrate my wins. That suggests there are some losses, right? Duality, opposites. If you have a win, and who lost, right? So when two teams play, there's a winner or loser, right? Win and loss. Then we evolve into a win-win, right? That's a very common thing. What's a win-win scenario? However, if you think about it, if you and I, right, if we're watching this and we get together and we go, how do we create a win-win situation, a win-win deal, a win-win circumstance, whatever it may be, a win-win, that's really just benefiting you and I. And in fact, it's not only benefiting you and I, what it really means is that the outcome in which we want to create is benefiting you and I. What is the difference between that and an omni benefit? Let's explore this. An omni benefit is all, omni, all. And so omni benefit would be, it benefits all. The end outcome that we're creating benefits you, myself, our families, the community, the world, the environment, Earth, emotionally, psychologically, health-wise, business, all, omni benefit. So there's that. The end result benefits all. But not only all people and all things, but all holistically from a mind, body, spirit, energy perspective. There's that. That's an easier framework to understand. But it's more complex than that. It's more involved than that. Omni benefit means the way in which we're getting to the destination, that is omni benefit, is also omni benefit. This is the big aha. In other words, the way in which we're creating, every discussion that we're having as we get to the destination is already benefiting all. Right? Another way to summarize that is, it's not just benefiting all at the end, it is benefiting all from the moment, the initial ideation all the way to the creation process is benefiting all. Not just the vertical end, it's the way in which we got there is already benefiting all. And imagine if companies, humans, societies, individuals thought and felt this way, what would the world be like? Right? And so it's something that is a passion of mine and the team members at 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 to teach, explore, and gift the world this deeper practice of omni benefit. I believe this is the future of humanity. This is how we're going to live in a way where in the next couple hundred years there is this amazing society. Right? I believe, I've seen, where's the sounds, I've seen the future. As much chaos that you feel like we're in now, we're in the process of swinging to the most beautiful time in modern human history. Technically this is already repeated many, 26,000 years ago. That's a whole other video. But in modern recorded history, we're about to swing into this amazing age of humanity, right? And so I believe that as we can gift this concept of omni benefit into the world, we accelerate, we grow, right? This sort of amazing enlightened age of humans, right? And so that's one of the things I wanted to share with all of you. And yeah, and that's it. And so hopefully that made sense, right? I mean, sometimes I realize that it's stuff I've thought about for decades, sometimes in years, in many. So if this doesn't make sense, if you're wanting more clarity on this, feel free to comment and message. I believe that this is the best time in human history for those of us that get this to come together, to embody this. Nothing to do, to embody this and shine and be a person of Omni Benefit and exemplify this, right, to other humans. I believe that is just as powerful as the doing, right? I'm not saying don't do. I'm saying, you know, if you're watching this video and unless you've been meditating for the last your whole life, 20, 30, 40, 50 years in a cave, you probably have become very practiced at doing, right? Welcome to Western society. And so I'm just suggesting that we harmonize the doing with the being, right? Harmonize the doing with the being. And so, Kelsey, I missed you too. You know, we're gonna play together soon. I know I really want to do that live event, but as kind of, you know, busy in a great way in Montana, and so lots of mountain biking fun and nature and deep connections. In fact, the Montana house kind of turned into a mini experience anyway. That's the intention that I set. Very interesting, right? And so the intention that I said, I don't want to sit around and talk about how's the weather, and I don't really do small talk, right? I want my life to involve deep human connections, and so of course that was the experience that I had, right? And so literally we get to experience what we want to experience, consciously and subconsciously, which is the key. When we align our subconscious and our consciousness together, we are now literally like He-Man or She-Ra if you're a girl. We're like the masters of the universe, right? And so yeah, super excited to sort of explore more of that in the future. And one of the things that's happening right now, I mean, I literally was just on a call with someone who is building communities. It's happening. It's already, you know, the land is there, the concept is there. We get to splice in our sort of immortal way of being Omni Benefit, the immortal way of rejuvenating a human, the immortal way of not only getting people healthy, that's like a super surface level. Yes, you'll be healthy. We know how to do that. That's the easy part. The fun, deeper aspect of it is supporting each person to reveal our essence to the world, right? Our essence to the world, not purpose, because I believe that at this point in my life, I feel like our purpose shifts. Our purpose really is just to live and feel. That's really humanity's purpose: live and feel and be. But our gifts, right? Our gifts, we definitely are put on this plane of existence to express our gifts. That's very different than purpose, right? And so, yes, I'm going to get on a horse because the horse ride was amazing. It was like 2 hours of meditation, basically. Because I mean, you know, someone was like, "Oh, how was the horse?" I was like, "It drove. I just sat, right? Like my horse was pretty on top of things, so I just kind of sat on a horse and kind of like trotted for 2 hours, going through some of the most amazing trails, and literally it was like one of the most meditative states." And so, yeah, and so just, you know, being out in nature is incredible. So those of you who have not experienced the fullness of nature, right? I believe that God or magic or universe or spirit, whatever your frame of reality is in between particles. And here's what I mean by that. We're taught to be very driven, intention, goal focused on the thing, but the magic, God, spirituality is in a space between the things. It's in the emptiness, right? It's in the space. And so, again, if that's kind of nebulous, comment. It's stuff I thought about for years. And so, when you're in nature is one of the best spaces to recognize the space between the space, if that makes sense, right? And so, as you contemplate, literally like experience how the leaves are moving from the wind, the gentle breeze, you connect with your divine self. You recognize, oh my God, I'm living in the most magical plane of existence. You feel it. You feel the divine essence in you as you observe the emptiness in this space, right? Because sometimes we're focused on, I gotta get there, then you're, in that moment at least, not as connected to that inner divine essence. And so we get to harmonize both experiences. We get to create and do, as well as be in a space and be and embrace our divine essence, right? And so, again, hopefully this all makes sense. I'm actually putting together a process where those of us that like to talk about this stuff, because as much as I enjoyed these live videos, I much prefer if we had about 8 people on this call, and we're putting in what's called a talking circle. I learned about a talking circle from this amazing human named Pat, who's an indigenous Navajo elder. And so we put things in the talking circle and explore, right, without judgment, recognizing each individual's own truth and own stories. We put our thoughts and our concepts about consciousness and spirituality and God and universe and quantum mechanics and all the stuff, all the magic stuff, as well as science, into the talking circle, right? And so it's like, you know, I'm a foodie, so I use a food reference. We each contribute our own unique ingredient. We bake it. Boom, comes out this amazing dish that not only do we enjoy, but all the viewers of this video will record it and share with everyone. No one owns the content, right? And so, and we share it with the world so that the world gets to enjoy the content. Interestingly, it's an Omni Benefit approach, right? So as each individual is partaking in the video already, they are revealing stuff about them as they share, right? Because we teach what we want to learn the most, right? And so that's the duality. Whenever we teach, even now as I'm speaking, I'm realizing amazing truths about my own essence as I'm doing these. So thank you, right? If you're watching this video, I would love for you to perceive this not as Steve is giving information. I'm just sharing information, and by you watching, I'm learning from you observing my words, right? The energy, it's an energy exchange, right? So not a one-way street, it's a two-way street for sure, right? And so, yeah, I want to get a small group of us to contribute to this recipe on a regular basis, because I feel like these little Omni Benefit practices can really help move humanity forward, right? And so, to conclude, because I have a cool mastermind call to go to with a bunch of other health people in the health space to revamp and disrupt health, I'll leave with, you know, there's a link to the wisdom course, the wisdom words course, right? It is free, right? And again, I want to reiterate that just because it's free, you might be like, oh, it's free. Like, I don't know, I feel like I want to charge you 1,000 just to give you the 1,000 back when you finish, because it's that impactful. It's literally me putting my essence in my obsession with consciousness for the last 30 years into a course, right? And so I hope all of you who are watching this, you know, go through the course and the practice. And again, my only ask is share it with as many people as possible. It's free. There's no upsell or anything. There's no funnel, right? Just a free course. And so all I ask is for you to share with as many people as possible, because I believe, imagine if we get 1 million people to be very mindful of the language that they're using, right? Imagine if, like, everyone in America, I'll just exaggerate, if everyone in America started using words like "I get to," right? And we start to use words that serve us, what that means for consciousness, like what does that mean for all of us, right? Even just half, right? Let's just go, half of Americans start to use words like, we let go of the word work. We simply call it contribution. Now, everything that we produce and do, it doesn't matter if you're a janitor or a CEO or a restaurant owner or a bookkeeper, we go, my contribution is blank. That's a very different energy than work, right? We feel much more fulfilled when we use the word contribution. Imagine if half of Americans feel fulfilled. What does that do to the other half? Right? Imagine you take a family of 4, 2 people are extremely fulfilled. What do you think the other 2 people eventually does and feels, right? This is how the universe works. If you take 50-degree water, or we'll just go easy, you go 0 degree, well, 1 degree, 0 would be ice. 1 degree water, right, and 100-degree water comes together, it's like 50.5 degrees, right? Things harmonize, right? The vibrational frequencies want to settle in the middle. So there is this profound effect as X% of people, right, start to vibrate at a certain frequency of joy, love, peace, ease. They naturally bring up the guilt, shame, dis-ease, and vibration. This is how, right? We're just a bunch of vibrating molecules, right? And so I believe one of the easiest ways, from doing this 30 years, I kind of realized words. Just use words, right? If we were one-on-one, we can go into stories, we can tap into spirituality, we can have Mikosi, who's listening on this call, to do amazing magical stuff to immediately shift. But right now, we haven't figured out how to scale that, right? I don't know if I can get like 1,000, 10,000 people and do that at a scalable level. I think eventually we'll figure that out. The app, I think, eventually will do this for 1 billion. But for now, until the app is done and all that stuff, the language course, I figured, is a very scalable way for us to choose a vibrational frequency that's coming out of our mouths, and thus affecting the vibrational frequency inside of us, and thus affecting the vibrational frequency of reality. This is the essence, right? And so, put that to use. If you have any questions, comment. We'd love to hear from some of you. And just have faith. That my parting words is have faith. As much as chaos that you see and feel and you are experiencing, have faith. There is amazing things coming that is serving humanity, right? So I ask that without dogma and religion, not that type of faith, but faith in you, right? Faith in humanity, because you are humanity, right? You have godlike powers to influence all of humanity. And when we have faith in ourselves, it's no different than having faith in all of humanity. There's nothing to fix, right? There are no problems to resolve, right? That's the old paradigm. What we do is we can create a new future, right? Because when we use words like fix, that's taking existing pieces and putting together. No, we can actually take all those pieces out, or maybe keep 10%, 80%, 50%, 92%, 33%, and create something entirely new. The new paradigm is create, and even better would be co-creation. We gather people and co-create. And I believe that mastery of our words, language, and this deep knowing of faith in ourselves is a recipe to create this amazing future going forward.